Are you a coder who gets rejected based on no practical experience or because others have a strong LinkedIn personal brand and you don't? Your coaching institute will hate me for doing this, but I welcome you to Code to Career 30 Days Challenge, where I have chosen these 5 total strangers out of my LinkedIn contacts and have taken up the challenge to help them go from jobless or underpaid to well paid job, that too without additional degrees and certifications in the next 30 days. If you are a coder and wants to get a well paid job, this is your golden chance to experience real project implementation from scratch that gets you a well paid job and builds your LinkedIn personal brand and also resume for absolutely free. So why just watch? Get into our WhatsApp community to experience this. Link is in the description. Now let's get started.
Great. Viresh, Raghavendra, Anirudh. I'm waiting for you to come on camera. Viresh, Anirudh. Yeah, you need to ask your co-worker, friends to actually be on camera. So let me start. So here is my first question. Like, how many of you after the session were able to do use case diagrams? Okay. What did you understand when you were doing use case diagrams? Maybe the theory you said you read and then the stage that you were in. Yeah, Amrut, Anirudh and Viresh, you need to be on camera. So what were your learnings when you were doing use case diagrams?
Yeah, so actually, I went through the use case document. So it's a set of features which will be uh, developed to make it as a complete system, embedded system.
Okay.
So and also it's just like some of the commands and computational units which used to get manipulated between the core chips and counter peripherals like that.
No, no, I'm asking about use case diagram.
Yeah, same.
Where are the chips and where are that other thing coming into picture?
I mean the whole processing unit, I mean software unit, I thought it as a computation thing.
Okay.
Um, I think use cases or like the diagram specifies the main features of the system.
Okay.
You,
Okay. So I heard from Ajay that most of you actually were having facing some issue with concretely getting hold of use case diagrams and also adopting or utilizing the feature, not the feature, the mechanism of CRC, class responsibility collaboration. So we will today. The session was actually planned for something, but after getting information from Ajay that many people were having issue with those things, I wanted to take that in a certain deeper aspect. Before that, I would like to definitely understand if somebody from you proceeded and were able to go to sequence diagrams. How many of you were able to get sequence diagrams?
Yeah, I have done it.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
You're done. Okay, you can share the screen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, is it visible? Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Can you make it large? Can you make it full screen?
I'm checking it.
Okay, it is good. App server thermostat. Okay. Yeah, can you make it bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it is. So login, verify login, then connect credentials, view dashboard, and then incorrect credential, re-login. Okay. Check temperature, encryption, request current temperature, get temperature successful description, display temp, set temperature, encryption, provide temp. Great. This more or less summarizes. So we'll get to this part in the second half of our thing. But for the benefit of all the people who were wondering, like, oh, how did these things actually come? The actor or the app as an object. So in a class kind of language, in the sense languages where there are classes, they have object-oriented features. Actor, and then you see that app, server, and all those things, they are actually the objects. Some objects stay permanently, some objects don't stay, some objects gets created when there is a message sent. So there are various other things that come into the sequence diagram. So yeah, Chaitanya, you can stop the share.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
Shubhankar.
yeah, so sir, I have done sequence diagram for one use case, that is the set temperature. I just want to show you once, so that
Go ahead, go
I
ahead.
am in a right track or not.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
One second. One minute. Yeah, sir. Is it visible?
Yeah. Authentication, pack into HTTP packet, authenticate, command send to thermostat IP address, receive request, parse the request, process command receive from app and temp, HTTP response.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
To acknowledge, HTTP response back. Yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah, this is right. So we'll get a bit deep into this.
Oh.
So you can stop sharing. I will share my screen. I have a
Sure, sir.
PPT to share. So are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. See it
Sir,
all. Yeah.
sir, I have also made a sequential diagram,
Yeah,
but I have,
we'll go to it after this session. Yeah.
okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. See, it all starts with requirements. That's the reason why the requirements document was given way before, in the sense, at the beginning, in the first session itself, the requirements document was given to you to help you understand and then go through the requirements and create that essay. Most of the problem would have gone for you, either it is for the use cases or the subsequent sequence diagram, and way forward into the project execution, even to the level of or at the stage of writing code. If you have that essay, that's why I feel among all the chapters in that book, the structured programming chapter is so very critical that it lays the foundation. I'm talking about the book, The C Companion. It lays the foundation for you to actually understand how to take some requirements and start building from scratch. In that process, once you have that essay, now the essay is something where you have spoken in terms of statements, English statements. And here is the opportunity for you that you don't need to actually write it in the form in English only. You could have used any language that is convenient to you just to write about all the thoughts. And I call at this stage, I call or I say it's like a brain dump. You are getting so many ideas. Customer has asked you like, this is what I want, but you, because of your experience and understanding, looking at other systems, similar systems, you went ahead and started describing and describing and describing. Maybe you can go to very finer levels, not an issue, but it's still in a form of a document. It's not in pictorial form. People cannot take it and create a code. They will only understand that, okay, this is the thing. It's as simple as telling a story in much more detail. But then comes use case diagrams and the subsequent diagrams. You can actually think like once you start with use case and really go a little bit further, you would have actually created the classes also. But in this case, we are skipping that step because we are using a language like C. Nevertheless, we are trying to understand and see how that fitment of so-called class structure can come into our aspect of implementing the project, maybe as a struct, maybe as those set of functions for a module. So I am extrapolating or trying to give a grand vision for the class. In the process, you also identify certain kind of requirements that are hidden, that are intrinsic, that people do not explicitly say. For those things to happen, you should have this combination of use case diagrams and sequence and CRC cards, which will actually get that thing done for you. So let us understand in today's session, we will quickly do this basics of.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Of use cases, I will clear the ground for everyone so that in the next session, everyone will have the same kind of use cases. Maybe the representation and the kind of depiction might vary, but everybody has the same set of use cases. Today, we will use one hypothetical use case called configure. Definitely, this is only a case. This is very much valid for our project, but I'm not looking at a scenario where you will go and use this case. I definitely do not want you to get into this kind of finer requirement. You do a set, get, and some aspects, it's more than enough. You still have, even after this 1 month, time to actually expand this project. We will today go through a live action of utilizing the CRC card technique, and we would get at least the shape and form of either a UART driver or HTTP or JSON parser, any one thing. People who are joining from laptop, I highly recommend that you complete the installation of star UML right now in the session. At least download and let it go. If it asks for a restart, say that you will restart it later. For people who use any other software, I am good with that, but have one piece of code or one application in which you can start doing this activity of creating use case diagrams and sequence diagram. This is what I'm saying, that identifying the CRC card technique, when we start doing in practice, we are actually going to identify user interface, middleware, or driver. I would say user interface is more easy to do as a session. We'll do that. Then we will go to the steps that follow sequence diagram, or how you get into the sequence diagram. So let us start with the first thing, use cases. Document and organizes the user requirement from the user's point of view. You want to really tell that, okay, these are the things that you can do with my system. These are the things you should not do with my system or cannot do with my system. Both are possible. For example, it is possible to place your ATM card in the opposite direction into the ATM machine. Do you agree? Type yes in the chat box. The side where you have the chip or something which is supposed to be red, you can skip it and you can put it on the other side. Is it not allowed? Yes, it is allowed. But is it a correct way to do it? No. So when I design a system, something like ATM machine, and I want to interact with it, I have to say that ATM machine should provide a mechanism or a way that the user can insert the ATM card. What can be, how it has to be done is finer requirements. What is to be done when the card is inserted in the opposite direction or upside down is something which are all the requirements which are implicit. Remember, I told you there are certain implicit requirements that people don't actually say it, but how will you get that? Once you start writing this thing, the same thing that I am speaking,
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
if you people go to the whiteboard and start speaking to yourself and start writing, you will get all these things. Now, the second point is something for people who tomorrow get into a project where they experience these kind of project management issues. Understand that use case diagrams are those diagrams which actually support project management with estimating cost, planning, and risk management, and to form a basis for testing. This is the statement. When I was writing, I was really thinking, yes, it really helps in testing. Because if you see something called as, how many people heard this thing called as traceability? That you take a requirement, and then when you start tracing the requirement from the time of it coming into maybe use case diagram or some, not use case diagram, maybe high level design document and low level design document, then code. Finally, you will have the test case which says that the requirement is pass or fail. So this is called the traceability matrix. And when you start doing this kind of thing, when you have a requirement for a particular use case, for a particular requirement, you have, let us say, 2 or 3 use cases. For 2 or 3 use cases, each use case may again get factored into maybe 4 to 5 sequence diagrams. For each of the functions and the actions that were being done, you will have maybe 1 or 2 test cases. So a requirement ultimately gets boiled down into those set of test cases. You really did not go till the testing phase. You take agile, waterfall, any type of software development lifecycle you take, use case diagrams will help you to figure out test cases. But the starting point, you need to write that essay. or you need to have that understanding of what the user wants, but what I understand from my perspective, and then convert it into use case diagram from the user's perspective. These are the various perspectives from which one statement by the user as a requirement comes to you. You follow this process, you will really understand. And I would say the benefits are so many that when you look at a code, you will say that, oh, this is the piece of code where I think these 5 lines are not at all going to get executed. It's a dead code. Or you will say that the requirement says this, but the logic here seems to be differing with the requirement. Without even writing a piece of code, you can think it. When you look at a piece of code which was already written, and you know this traceability matrix, and you are well versed with this process, you can isolate bugs in the program way too fast than other people. And you will also appreciate the reason for why this test case is important and why this test case is not important. These are the things that people usually get out of experience. But if somebody follows a very well-established strategy of this process called use case diagrams or something, they inherently develop an intuition to look at for these finer details, even without actually being in the real world scenario of doing a project. How many of you are now feeling that, okay, when he's saying like this, I feel that tomorrow when I see a code, I can find out these things. Type me in the chat box. Are my statements not right? Are they not giving you that intuition that, oh, okay, it is possible, I'm able to see? Maybe you can map it to some kind of code that you had already seen, any kind of environment. That's the beauty of this process. So after this thing, what next? What more advantages that use case as such gives to you? In a single shot, it gives you a visual representation of the complete project scope. What can be done, what cannot be done. Very simple. And people develop use cases in project as part of requirements gathering, which again will tell you how many people are needed, can it be done in this kind of time, and all those things. Most of the time, if it can be spent in these kind of stages, the coding stage actually can be very simple, because you may be using a library or you may be using a third-party code that is already available, already getting a code from existing project. There are various options to get the code. But to understand what piece of code to get, you need this brainstorming. Now let us consider one use case, which is configuration of the sensor as one of the use cases. Let us consider that use case. Now here is the most important thing. When you are thinking about use case, think about the parts of the speech. And I'm talking about verb. That's why I told in the use case something like get, it's a verb, set is a verb, configure is a verb, administer is a verb. So use cases, because they speak about user interaction with the system, eventually it has to be a verb. So this is a small trick when you are writing your essay about the project. Think of those statements where there is some action being done by the user or by the actor. Now, as I mentioned, the actor could be.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the description.
Human, or it could be another system. Now let us talk about configure. The configuration in our case can be as simple as you hard coding, saying that set this temperature, and you have already a variable float temp is equal to 25.7, and you pass that data. Where it goes, we are not worried now. But what I am trying to say is the configuration of temperature in the thermostat can start with your hard coding. Now let us go a little bit further. One is at a level where you are doing hard coding. One is at a level where you do some primitive kind of scanf or cin if you are using C++, where enter the value of temperature to be set, printf. Then you use a scanf and you get it second way. Then this is on the console. When I say you are using scanf and all those things, it is on the console. Now the third kind of thing, you have a very, very rudimentary, very simple graphic user interface with some keypad, up, down arrows and all those things on an LCD. Your predefined temperature settings are shown 25 degrees, 35 degrees, 45 degrees. You do up, down arrow and there will be one button, you say enter and then that value is taken. Very simple keypad interface and LCD interface. Done. Now let us go a bit further. You have graphical displays where you can type in the value, maybe again using a keyboard. Now the latest thing, touchpad. In all these kind of scenarios, what is the common thing? Type in the chat box. In all these scenarios, what is the common thing? Think and type in the chat box. Interaction, okay. What is the common thing? From the user perspective. See, we are talking about use case. Think like a user. Don't think like somebody always as a developer. It will not help in the long run. Think like a user. Giving command, okay. Setting temperature, okay. I already actually told you. The use case name I already told you. What is the use case that we are doing? Configure. So the use case is configure. Either I do from X way, Y way, voice command. You have Alexa and something. You say, hi Alexa, set 25 degrees. You are configuring. The reason why I am little bit particular about this word is, see, giving command. Giving command, if I put it as a use case, how is it looking? I'm making an assertion, right? Giving command, instructions, these are all valid, but figure out a verb that fits to the use case. And here configure is that. How many of you know some C++, or you also know that hierarchy of C++, that there is a parent class, there is a child class? Type me in the chat box. At least you heard of it. Inheritance, I'm talking about inheritance. Anirudh says me, Viresh says me, Amrut says me, Raghavendra says me, okay. So for other people, take some time and understand about inheritance. Here is the inheritance aspect that you can use inside use cases also. And how is it? The top level use case can be configuring data. It's a very top level use case. You draw it once and you say, this is a configure use case, configure data. You write description about it and you are done for the day. Tomorrow, when the requirement changes, when the team lead comes and says that no, the user is asking that he should be able to configure the data through touch screen or certain input device. Now, do you discard the top level use case? No. The description that you wrote, the requirements, the test cases, everything that you have written, when you say that I am completely done with the use case, are still valid. You now specialize the use case saying that this is the top level use case or the abstract use case. The specific example in my case where I have the function saying that is touchscreen LED initialized, true or false. Tomorrow, let us say that function, or touch underscore screen underscore init, some initialization. Those are the specialized functions which are coming because now your specific use case is talking about configure, instead of configuration, configure at the top, configure data, configure touchscreen LCD or setting parameters through LCD. How many of you get this? How many of you understand what I'm trying to tell? Okay. So this is how in use cases also you can have specialization and the generalization. Now the second thing is, when you come to use cases, one is the verb and one is the specialization and another thing. Now the third important aspect when it comes to use cases is the association. Association in the sense, the interaction of the user with the use case. You people have already done that, those ovals and drawing.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well-paid job, book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the description.
The diagrams and all those things. But it may happen that one use case can include another use case. That, for example, if I want to configure data, then the input use case, input is also a verb. The input use case is implicit. Maybe inside the input use case, I may say that I will have a, I don't know, 20 character place that I will allow user to type in the temperature, all those kind of things. I will keep a submit button. I will say okay button. All the GUI things that you want to talk about, they fall under the input use case. The mechanism to put the data into the system. But the configure use case internally uses or includes the input use case. So you have your use case diagram, the boundary and all those things. Let me share the screen and so this is the typical diagram how your use cases will come. I have the big configure use case. I will have an arrow, a dotted arrow, dotted line with an open arrow symbol, and I will say that this is the input use case. But my configuration use case internally uses this. So this is the include thing. Now there is another way, which is called as extend. Extend is also similar notation, dotted arrows with an open dotted line with an open arrow. Same oval for the use case notation. It is just that you will put something called as stereotype, and then you will write extend. Here you will say include. Here is also one more use case. Let us say validation. Validation use case or validate. Now what is validate? The extend use case is nothing but depending on certain condition. For example, the user is entering, you mandate that the temperature cannot be always float. Either you say boss 25 degrees or 26 degrees. Don't say 25.7 or 25.6. So when you want to validate that, when the user input is given, then there is a flag set, flag is true. Then you call this validate use case. So these are the extension kind of use cases. Similar to include case of use cases, but extension. This is the simplest understanding of use cases. And what I spoke in front of you right now with respect to these use cases on the fly to make you understand these all things is only because I was taking my mind through the complete essay that I have written for this project. Okay, what if user does this? What if user does this? What can I allow? What I can't allow? What should I say that it should be done like this only, can't be done like this? Just the textual things, the story that is there in my mind, I am bringing in as a picture in front of you. Now, when you talk more about this, the configure use case. So before that, let me share the screen and we will go back to the presentation. So this is the configuration use case. How many of you are now fine with use cases? And today,
if you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the description.
if there are anything pending with the use cases that you are confident to say that, yes, Vamsi, we will get it done and we will be ready for sequence diagrams. How many of you got that confidence? Type me in the chat box, because we need to now move faster. We are in the second week. We have other things to take. The middleware is now going to be a little bit bulky. I am not expecting that you implement the thing. Rather, you take certain piece of code which is already available, which will, if you go to GitHub, you will get code for JSON data parsing. You will get lightweight HTTP server. All those things are possible. I am more worried. I'm more worried in the sense I'm actually expecting that you will stitch those things properly. While stitching those things is what I want this understanding actually should be helping you. So now let us go to the next thing. Actors, as I told, they are more than just people. That can be even systems also. One most important thing that I want to drive home is actors are goal driven. They have a specific purpose. They are goal driven and interact with the use case to achieve some result that has value for them. Else the actor won't interact with the system. So you need to bear this point very, very strongly in your mind. Now let us play the CRC technique. Now the CRC card technique is like this. Okay, before that, let me bring the CRC card in front of you so that you have the picture in front of you. This is how the card should look like. On a piece of paper also, you can draw class name. Let the name be class name only. It could be your HTTP server. It could be your JSON, JSON parser, authentication module, encryption module. Put any name to it. One side you have the responsibilities, and the next time next half part is with what other modules or structure that it will use or functions that it will call to collaborate so that its responsibility is completely done. Yeah, clear? Hope people, you would have taken some screenshot or you would have make a note. Now let us do a role play. I will help you to navigate through the role play, but I want to have two people. One person. Now this is an interaction where we are only, or this is a CRC card technique where we are only trying to get the structure or the module or the set of functions, whatever it is, for the user interface. We are not getting into the middleware because that requires certain kind of expertise. For example, if I say that, okay, let us come up with a struct HTTP server. You need to read about HTTP server to understand what it is. But for a user interface, it's something that we are very much used to, we have seen and all those things. Who wants to come on the hot seat? It will be a big learning to you. Trust me. Type me in the chat box. Amrut raised. Okay, fine. Yeah, Amrut. Let me spotlight you. Okay. So Amrut, what is the name that you want to give to your user interface class or struct module, whatever?
This is for the configuration only, right?
No. We are trying to come up with this struct user interface or class user interface, something through which, see, use configure is one of the use cases.
Right.
But user interface is your user interface, right? Through which I can execute a use case like configure, stop the system, get the value, set the value. Anything is possible. But my user interface is user interface, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Or do you want to name it?
Thermostat. Yes.
Sorry?
Access. Thermostat access.
Okay.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Yeah, let us name it thermostat access. Okay. Yeah. Are you, because at the end of this thing, you would be actually showing your page or you take a photo and share because we want to see that complete class. So you will be actually doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Kaun Banega Crorepati, people on hot seat answer the questions, right?
Sure.
So you actually put that box, you have the class name, you just write responsibilities, and then you say collaborators. Now we will figure out the responsibilities. Okay. As a user interface, what do you think are your responsibilities?
Yes. This is again separating it out from the use case, or
Yes, these have nothing to do with the use case.
okay, try to give what my preferred.
Okay, let this at the context. Your class or your struct is like your any tool. Let us say spanner.
Okay.
Spanner is a tool, right?
Mhm.
Now the use case could be opening the nut of some tank or for your bike or for your cycle. It doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
But if I say struct spanner made of steel,
Mhm.
length, some attributes are there, right?
Mhm.
Can open, can hold. So
Okay.
think of responsibility. Responsibilities are again action oriented.
Okay. Yeah. Mostly access. Again.
Yeah, put it in a verb. Put it in a verb. Think of a function name.
Display.
Set and get temperature. Set and get temperature are use cases.
Use case. Yeah.
No, I know I'm talking about only user interface, Umer. I'm just talking about user interface as a tool or as a class or as a struct, whatever.
All those.
Login is a use case because
Yeah.
I interact.
Yeah.
I as a user interact, right? Yeah,
Yes.
take input. Yes. Now you got one hint, take input. How do you convert it as a function or give a name?
Yeah.
See, there's so much
user
behind giving
user
a name of
underscore
function
input.
also.
User
Sorry?
input. User input.
Okay, user underscore input. Okay.
Okay.
So the responsibility of the UI is to accept user input.
Right.
So accept underscore user underscore input. Okay. Yeah, or get input. Okay, get input. Now see, Viresh gave one more thing saying that string. Maybe the parameter is string. Maybe the parameter is char star, or if you have some C++ or something, you have some string class and all those things. Yeah, that is one responsibility. I hope you have made a note of it.
Right.
Yeah. Accept underscore user underscore input, and its parameter is char star.
So the type also will act as a responsibility.
Oh, type in the sense?
Like just now you mentioned that string char.
No, I'm just mentioning, like, see, when you are digging deep and you are discussing more, you can say that, oh, the responsibility of user interface is to accept user input. How can I take it? Maybe now he is saying string, but it's a value. Maybe you take it as a float, but we have decided that.
But that essentially defines user input, right? That itself is what.
Yeah, but you need to have a function, right? to take from the user. When he types or he does something, you need to accept the input, right? Like scanf.
Correct.
So
But
there should be a function in your UI.c or UI.h, some responsibility. It's the responsibility of your class, right? It's not anyone's responsibility.
right. Okay.
So when that input is given to you, you are accepting it. How do you put it? Maybe as a string, maybe as a int, maybe as a float. You can think of on your own,
Right.
and you can say that. But what I'm saying is, now one responsibility is understood. How
Right.
many of you are traveling so far with Amrit? Got it?
We have the class name as thermostat access. Responsibilities are user input and character and or type of a character or input.
No. We have now figured out only one responsibility.
Oh, okay.
Get
So
user input. It's
okay.
the
So
responsibility of your UI class. What other responsibilities do you want to attach to it?
okay. So the arguments for that responsibility will be right. Yes, makes sense. Okay. Get the preset or like the predefined values or like the menu which has those.
You need to check the you need to check the chat box also. You are getting hints.
Oh, okay, right.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Store the commands. Validation, it is a very good, yeah, it is a responsibility.
Yeah, it's a responsibility of user interface to validate the input. Yeah,
Correct.
good one, Chaitanya. So you will say validate underscore input. Maybe accept user input internally might be calculating or calling validate input, but still it's a responsibility of user interface only, right?
Correct.
So you can have, I can have validate underscore input. Okay,
Right.
fine. What more?
Store the commands. That would be accepting as user input on this.
Display processed value.
Oh,
The command has to be further is in the form of a HTTP packet. No, so that part also has to be done from here only.
Don't bring HTTP here. You are user interface. Why do you want to worry about HTTP?
that will be middleware.
Your responsibility has nothing to do with it.
That will come under probably middleware class.
Okay.
See, we are only talking about getting the input or user interface actually to show something, right? So there is a display. So display underscore will give so many things.
Right. I mean, yeah. But that comes under use case, right?
Why use case?
Because you visualize.
No, why are you mixing use cases with getting a class?
Yeah, that's what I
Understanding a
need
class.
to. Yeah, that's where I'm trying to see what do you define which.
No, there is no defining here.
Okay, display is a responsibility. Okay.
A use case is a representation of how the actor will interact with your system. But here I'm talking about in the system, there is something called as user interface module. What are its responsibilities?
Yeah, so display is a way with which the actor interacts with the thermostat. So that is a use case, right?
It could be use case, but why do I worry? When I'm talking my responsibilities, see, it is like this. As a person, my responsibility is do 1, 2, 3. That's it. How people talk with me, does it matter? No, right? See, I am a human. My responsibilities are eat well, stay healthy, something. Okay, these are my responsibilities.
Right.
Somebody comes and somebody makes a phone and talk with me because somebody interacts with me. Has that anything to do with my eating well? No, right?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
But you are mixing these two now.
Got it. In that case, status. status of the, like whether
Yeah.
on or off.
Maybe display underscore error status. Yeah, display underscore temperature. Display underscore sensor status or whatever.
Right.
So now if you are good with, in the sense, I mean, if you have done good amount of coding, now when I'm saying display status, display sensor status and all those things, we normally if you are done or seen lot of code, you will say that, okay, let me have a enum which will have all these error states. See, you see, at the use case level only, when I'm trying to describe more and more and more, now this is where in your class diagram, when you have the name and responsibilities are functions, but you can also have attributes. Attributes are enum error status. Yeah. Any other responsibilities that you want to attach to the user interface?
Yeah, threshold comes under validation.
Any other responsibility you would like to attach? We are dealing with user interfaces day in and day out. Our all mobile phones have that user interface. Think. Settings.
Yes, not about that. Yeah, settings was a valid. It's a very diverse thing. You can add other remaining.
See, turn off and turn on, it's again an interaction with the user. It's an interaction that I'm doing with the user interface. It's again a use case.
Settings can be a responsibility. It's an individual icon. Or
No, why settings is a responsibility?
um,
See, you are accepting input, you are validating input, you are showing something.
correct. But
I
to
believe these are
change
sufficient for
the
a user interface.
settings can be like
Uh,
change the UI for example, maybe change the UI orientation or color scheme. I don't know, anything.
yeah,
There
can
are,
be.
yeah, some other like any other thing other than this, like user input, validation, and display are the core functions of it. Usually in a UI, you will have something at the
Yeah,
settings.
you can have these kind of secondary responsibilities also, where the user will go to the settings and try to invoke something, then the UI has to actually configure itself or show
Exactly.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay, that's its responsibility. Understood.
Yes.
Now let us come to the collaboration part.
Okay.
Now you want to, as a user interface, with what do you want to collaborate to get your responsibility satisfied? Let us take one responsibility, validate input or accept input. Accept underscore user underscore input is one of your responsibilities. Now for your responsibility to fulfill or get fulfilled, you as a user interface, with what do you think you should collaborate?
Some server database.
Yeah, people start giving. If you are with me and you are with Amrut, you would have got now the responsibility. You would have understood that, okay, this class or this UI module, think of a file called, as he told, thermostat underscore something you told, right? Thermostat underscore access something.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Some file .c and some file .h.
Right.
Are you visualizing in your mind? There is
Yes.
a .c file now created and .h file created.
Yes.
In .h file, you have all these enums or function prototypes or whatever that we are talking about. The struct user interface. And those function implementations are now coming here. accept underscore user underscore input, validate underscore user input, or display settings, display error, and all those things. .c file, .h file. Clear in your mind for everyone? Type yes in the chat box if you are clear. Okay. Now,
Sir,
the
I
user,
want to ask one thing, sir.
yeah.
Clarify one thing. Like all these structs will be getting inside the library .h file only, na? Or the .c file, which
See, that's it. That's if that's what when you are writing code, you take a decision that what I want to give to the user expose and what I don't want to expose.
If
okay.
you want to use that again, you can
If
make it
you
in a
want some
common.
outside code to create an instance of your structure, you give you give the structure definition. Else you don't give it.
No, suppose like suppose I have settings. So within the settings, I have a struct which has all which we mentioned, like all the touch calibration and whatever things. This I will put in a struct in the library file or the like
Why
that part.
library? You have one .h and .c file for your
Sorry,
user
in the
interface.
.h file only, na?
Yeah, .h file. .h file doesn't always means a library, right? See, there is my .h file where I say that I don't want to give to anyone. It is only for my clarity. I want to split this functionality into .h and .file. Mostly people split into .h file saying that, okay, I want to have some other module call my functions. Else, you just create your .c file with all the functionalities. And yes, if you have a requirement of creating into a library, create a lib module.a or .s or something. Or otherwise, let it be just like that. Whatever it is doing, it will do. But for otherwise, if you write all the functions in a file and you don't expose it outside, somebody should be using your .c file, right? The functionality. So you eventually have to expose certain functions outside so that somebody will include that header file and get it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Now, the question where we are now is, we have the name, we have the responsibilities of the user interface module. Now, with what modules do you people think that the user interface module should collaborate? Mostly to get its responsibilities completely done.
Correct. So for we are going with validation, right? Validate input responsibility.
Yeah, take any responsibility. Let us take accept underscore user underscore input.
Okay. Okay. User input. For user input, we are doing with increment or decrement operation.
Yeah, people help you. I hope most of you have now got. We just have. Or let me expand the scope. As a whole, for user interface module to do all its activities whatsoever, what are the modules you think that it has to collaborate? We would collaborate with the user and server, won't we? Yes, we will. So that's why I'm saying, that's why I'm
What
saying I'm expanding the
modules?
scope. I type an user input and user input and I say send. What happens? It's not the responsibility of the user interface, right? It has accepted the input, validated the input. Yes, these are my responsibilities, boss. After that, it is not my responsibility. After user saying send, I accepted, I validated. After that, what? Yeah, we would collaborate with user and server. Now, what are the things coming in? Where do you think, or who do you think are the entities that come into play now? Travel along with the data. User
For
has given 25 degrees.
Once
And
the user input is done, so like it will be from a string, then that string has to be processed, and like it is a like a UART communication. So UART will come into play, and we are also engaging it in form of a HTTP packet. So like it will uh, uh, take in context to the IP of the thermostat also. So UART is also coming into picture. thermostat is also coming into picture. So other
See,
like
thermostat is the
classes,
final receiver.
yeah.
Here,
But
user
the
interface
middleware
don't
will come
collaborate with
into,
that.
it has to collaborate with the middleware basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So who are the collaborators? What do you think are the signature of functions that you think should be called inside user interface module?
I was telling like increment and decrement functions basically, which tracks like a counter, which
Maybe,
stays between user input and a
yeah, user input and
middleware basically.
uh,
Before it sends off to a request and later
Mhm.
by your UART, this is a function which keeps track of the user input, like a counter or however it is.
okay. Some kind of mathematical operation is what you are
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Okay. Some
Because
mathematical function, it has to, some math library, it has to collaborate.
yes, exactly.
Uh,
So
what
because
you-
we decided that within those boundaries we can expand, right? So those conditions and all will give within this increment or decrement function.
yeah. Amrut, look at the chat box. People
Yeah.
are helping you.
Encrypt and okay, decryptor and sender. Okay, so you encrypt that input and send it.
So somewhere you need to collaborate with the module which does the encryption.
Correct.
Somewhere you have to collaborate with the module which converts your data and puts it into the JSON format. Somewhere
Correct.
maybe HTTP server may not be needed here because the JSON formatter might take a decision to collaborate with HTTP.
Right.
But for me, the data is validated and I use some mathematical function to see that it is within the bounds, do some stuff with that, processing it, and I may collaborate with module which will convert my data into a JSON packet or into JSON format.
Right. JSON
Sufficient, right?
formatter, encrypt, JSON formatter.
Yeah, sufficient.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Internally, JSON format may again call the HTTP thing. We can include here. I'm not dogmatic about and saying that no, you should not include here. But I'm saying let us delegate that to the JSON thing so that it will send or vice versa. Let us assume we call HTTP only. HTTP, when it is sending, it will convert into JSON format, put into, there can be any mix and match. So the point,
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
I'm trying to tell is it takes time to come up with classes or structures. It matters how you name your functions. It matters how you decide where what gets stored.
Yeah.
User has done an input. And if a requirement is something like, I want to log the interaction of the user with the system. See, this is another responsibility. I am attaching a responsibility of the user interface saying that, hey, user interface, whenever user, anyone, somebody does an interaction with you, log it. Now, because of to do this log operation, you should interact with timer module, maybe to get the time. You should interact with some memory so that it can store the timestamp and the value, what he has said. Maybe the user interface, we are assuming that directly it is taking user input. What if it throws a login screen? It should validate the credentials. For that, again, it has to go to some storage location and see that is this person a valid user?
But that's a different responsibility, right?
Yes.
That doesn't come in.
Validating user. Now we thought of validating the input given by the user. How about validating the user only?
Yes.
Maybe with a password check and all those things.
Yes.
I hope you people got the essence of what I am trying to say. When we are talking about requirements and all those things, when we are doing brainstorm, we can go any levels top or we restrict ourselves at certain level and say that enough, and we get into the implementation. In 1 month time, we cannot think so much. Yes, we will be on our intellectual high and we will say that, wow, let me do this, that. Yes, boss, it is very good to have that. But is it possible? Okay, I'm actually throwing at you a challenge. Take the barest requirement, integer data, no float, nothing, hard code, integrate one lightweight HTTP server, convert it into JSON, interact with one UART driver, fake the hardware, whatever, and send this 25 data through all these gullies and highways and let it hit the destination. In this 1 month, you would have achieved so much. How many of you are for this game? Type me in the chat box. And this will take time. This will take time. This will take a lot of thought process. If coming up with one UART, one UI struct itself is now what you have seen. You got my point?
Right.
Now, here are the next things. I'm not sharing the screen, but I will just read out.
Just one sec. So thermostat access unlimited, this is what like UI access and giving all these responsibilities, right? So we'll define separate class for communication again, and their responsibilities in between.
Yeah, now don't think of class as, because this has its, or these things have origin in its, these things have their origin in the object-oriented way of thinking. I would say think in terms of .c and .h file. That's why I brought, deliberately I brought this UI.c and UI.h, or main.c and main.h, app.c, app.h. Put any name that you want, like you told thermostat access or something .c.h. Put HTTP server.c.h. Put your UARTs.c.h.
All right. Okay.
You are saying UARTs.c.h, but it is in fact a device driver for the UART.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, put JSON parser.c.h. So
Okay.
what I am saying is at the end of this 1 month, you would be having your use case diagrams and all those things where you have the description, you will have the flow in the sequence diagram. And that flow, when I look at that sequence diagram and I look at that code, I will be seeing the same names that you have put in the sequence diagram being represented as a functions in individual files, whichever is that.
Sure.
Clear?
Yeah.
And if you dig deep, or I would say go deeper into the use cases, you will actually come up with the test cases also. So you would be, in fact, writing the test case document now. You would be populating the high level document of this use case and all those things. You will be getting into the low level documentation, low level design, all of these things also. I would be sharing the high level design document template. There is one template that I have put, but I am not, I had a second look at it and it was not coming up good. I have certain other structure, much more lightweight and simple, so that you see it and you just plug and play by putting your content. Same for low level design document. You can use an Excel or something and create your own test cases saying that, okay, I want this validation and all those things.
You can take whatever the collaborations or whichever we defined just now, individual for those each test case.
Yeah, you can do that. And how many of you want a pro tip to get this easily done? Type me in the chat box. Yeah, Vamsi, you gave so many things, but some hint. थोड़ी सी तो lift करा दो. See, it's not classes that collaborate and files that collaborate will do the magic. It's you people who collaborate will do the magic. People who are in organizations still not really appreciating what team play is, you will actually see now. If you are doing a monotonous work, forget about team play. It's actually tricks getting played. One person trying to take over you, other person take. But if if people come up as a group, having an idea of coming up with a project or a product or something, the way they work is entirely different than in an established place where there is hierarchy and people want to become Bhasmasura. Yeah. Typically in organizations that happen that. But here I am telling you, you need to become that human pyramid. Janmashtami, you know that, right? That thing is at, that pot is at the top and people form that human pyramid and finally one person will climb and break it. Yes. So now it's there on the top. The final project is there on the top for you. So you become that human pyramid and do it. Trust me, you will crack it. And Ajay is going to actually, next week, Ajay is going to call you. Individually also, he will call you to understand certain things and all those things because we want to improve the process. Last time we were not having such a streamlined stuff. We were now bit streamlined. We'll go a bit more streamlined in the next challenge and all those things. Any questions? Yeah. Can we?
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
We all clap for Amrut. Yeah, great work, Amrut. Any questions? You were there with the questions. That's why you were not able to come up with use case and sequence diagram. Few people. So any questions asked because we are done with the use cases. Sequence diagrams also today we will conclude in the sense, I believe it is concluded because you got an understanding what to do.
I think the idea of what you said, imagining in terms of .c and .h files, I think that should be a very key takeaway, like rather than thinking in terms of module or sections for this entire.
Yes.
I am having a doubt, sir. A lot of it got cleared from your CRC today, but just asking from everyone's point of view only, like, will the if we get into a reading about all these things into detail, like how the parsing is done, how the like UI driver, everything is implemented. Will it help us in coming up with the functions in the sequence diagram more effectively? Like, is it that way? Like, because if I am sitting with the sequence diagram, the things are coming up in English statement context, it is coming up well. But imagining in terms of functions and what value is actually getting returned a uh, from a interaction, like from a app to a middleware. So what's the value has to return from in that function? That I am getting stuck. So if you can like guide that part.
Yeah, I understood what you are saying. But honestly speaking, I don't want to snatch away that learning from you. I can give you, but you will say, oh, is it like this? And then you go to the next sequence diagram, you will be again at the crossroads. Trust me, this is the natural way that we all feel. I felt, you are feeling now. That's it. So don't,
Sure.
I'm not saying you are looking at the shortcut. I know this kind of confusion will be there. That's why I'm so particular about writing that essay. You should always go back to write that essay and always look, did I write that? Did I write that? What do I mean by that? Tell me one movie where some director does a clap without script. And all of you started creating a movie without a script. From day one, I was telling, write that essay. And I pointed out, go for chapter 5 and read it thoroughly. Because you have not done that, I'm being very honest, you are getting these doubts. If you would have written that, refined it. See what the structure is very simple. User inputs, validate, some encryption, put it in HTTP, convert it to JSON format, put it in HTTP packet, send it through UART. Any confusion here? No, right?
No, sir.
More
sir.
clear than a Google GPS. Yeah. But the
Yes.
to put it in statements and go deep is something that you should have done by now. This was the problem that was done in the, I mean, this was the issue that was faced by people at the beginning. And now, thanks to the kind of education system and the thing that we have, we don't do that. We thought that the moment I am done with my 10th standard, essay questions are done. Rest are all multiple choice. And people don't like to write. But reading, writing are the skills that people fed us from childhood. So we should encourage them. My suggestion would be go and read chapter 5. Understand why that person told this is very important. Writing is writing. That's it. Then extrapolate. Bring your case study now. Bring this project and start writing. You will get all the ideas. You will get much more. It will open your mind to observe. The moment now you take your phone and you will see that, oh, this is how I am inputting. This is how it is. Yeah.
Sure.
And yes, collaborate. When you speak with somebody, like you told that you spoke with Amrut and there were certain ideas that you got. Speak with other people.
Yes.
Okay, do
I had
showcase your user diagram, get feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now here is one more thing that I wanted to add in this challenge too, so that people take more advantage of what effort that they are putting. You can be the you can be the star of the project and all those things. But if you are only a star with respect to implement the code, but somebody makes a PPT of what you have implemented and shows to the higher management, increment and promotion goes to that person. Nobody will say that, oh, Shubhankar has done that. No, the person who stood before the manager and gave the presentation gets the promotion. Yes or no? How many of you agree to this? Type me in the chat box. So in this challenge, you will be made into groups. 3, we are 12. So depending on how many people have reached to certain level and doing it, we'll create groups. And each group will give a presentation for 5 minutes. Why only 5 minutes? You can talk hours and hours, but nobody has patience to listen. How quickly you come to the point and deliver precisely matters. So in 5 minutes, a small project, what you have done? Yeah. 3 groups. So at the max, we say 6 or 7 minutes also. Max of half an hour. Yeah. Clear? Okay. So see who gels well with whom and form your groups now only. You can upfront tell us that, okay, I want this person. We are okay with that. So any more questions? Else we can conclude the call. And this video will be uploaded by tomorrow and you will get the link.
Yes.
Okay. So Chaitanya, any question? Ananda, Anirudh, Aditya, Ajay, Viresh, Umer, Raghavendra. And yeah, and people who are not there on, can we form group with you? Yeah, you are already a group with me. Just that I am a mute person. I only open my mouth in the master class. Yeah, can we have gallery and we will want to take a snap? Yeah, Anand, Viresh, Umer, Raghavendra, please be on camera. Amrut.
Viresh, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, that was good one, Umer. Okay. Great. Okay, then see you again on today is Monday, Wednesday. Yeah. Best of luck. Bye. Ajay will be contacting you soon.
Bye, sir.
Bye.